All right, so Xbox just delivered their second showcase for 2024, and this was a partner showcase. So, this was not focusing on their first party exclusives. That's not what this was about. This was to focus on third party games and also, of course, as you would expect, Xbox Game Pass. That is a constant theme with them, and we will go over all of that today. I'll go over some of its highlights and also my own personal thoughts and whether or not this showcase was worth the time and effort. Now, we also got some PlayStation news to talk about that did confirm another big PC release, and then there was also a lot of confusion surrounding the exclusivity of the Final Fantasy VII remakes going forward. And I'll give you the lowdown on that entire situation. Again, there's a lot of confusion because there might have been a misreport today. So do stay tuned for all of that, but let's just go and get right into this Xbox showcase. This was a 30-minute long event, and really, anytime a showcase is announced, there's always going to be a lot of hype online and a lot of speculation about all of these grand games that might show up. But that's really not what this event was. It became clear early on that this was more about highlighting some maybe overlooked games that has some potential. I actually thought there were some very interesting games at this event, some of which I've never even heard about before. So that's something that I really enjoyed about this partner showcase. It gave some smaller but still interesting games to spotlight, and now more people will know what they are, including myself. The other focus, of course, though, was games that will come over to Xbox Game Pass on day one. I mean, you always gotta love that, and you know what? Let's just go and start there. They did reveal 6 new games that are heading to Game Pass on day one, most of which will be releasing in 2024. One is Sleight of Hand. This is a stylized stealth-based game that also involves a card-based system. I really don't know what to make of this game, though. They only showed a short CGI trailer, and I've said this before. If you're working on a new IP, and if you're a relatively unknown studio, you gotta show gameplay, because CGI trailers are just not enough. I don't really know what studios like this are hoping to achieve with a trailer like this. It just doesn't tell us a whole lot, so I don't know. I do like stealth games, so I'll keep an eye on this one, but yeah, I do want to see gameplay. Next up, though, is something that I can be very excited about, and that is The Alters. This game hit me perfectly. It's a sci-fi game where you play as a miner who crashed on a desolate but still hostile planet, and now he needs to fight for his survival. It kind of reminds me of the book The Martian. It's also a movie, and that's probably where most of you have heard about it, but the book is far better, as they typically are. But I do love the setting of this game, and it's also quite unique as well. Apparently, the planet allows you to create copies of yourself, and that's where this story is bizarrely interesting. There's also a management system kind of similar to a Fallout Shelter. That's what it kind of reminded me of. And I don't know, this game just really hit me in a good way, and the fact that it's coming over to Game Pass day one, I mean, this is a game that I absolutely want to play when it eventually releases. That's the only unfortunate part here, though, because we don't have a release date just yet. They also revealed Creatures of Ava. This is another Game Pass title, and it appears to be a new spin on the monster taming genre. You get all these different types of monsters on your team, and then they help you solve various problems within the world. There does appear to be some type of battling as well, though I'm not exactly sure how that feature works just yet. There does seem to be a music element to this game. There was also towns and platforming. It does seem to have a pretty big world, so there's just a lot happening with this game, and I mean, if you do like the monster taming genre, it might be worth paying attention to. It does seem like a different take. It is set to release sometime in 2024. Now, for you Persona fans out there, they did reveal Persona 3 Reload's DLC, which includes the much talked about expansion, The Answer. This expansion will focus on Aegis and her story, and I do understand that she is a fan favorite, so I'm sure fans will absolutely love this expansion when it releases this September. Even better is that it is coming over to Game Pass, so there you go. Persona 3 Reload is absolutely one of the best games this year, and, well, it's only going to get better from here on out. Frostpunk 2 also made another appearance here. We already knew that this game was coming to PC Game Pass day one, but now it has an official release date. It will be out on July 25th, so it's not too far away, and this one's actually a sneaky big announcement. Now, I do understand that these world-building games tends to be you either love them or hate them, especially over on console. There doesn't really seem to be much of a middle ground when it comes to this genre, but Frostpunk was actually a very popular game over on PC, and there's been a lot of anticipation with a sequel. So this is actually a big get for PC Game Pass. If they do hope to further grow PC Game Pass, these here are the type of games that they need to get into the service. So definitely a good get here for Xbox. Now, the last Game Pass game that they revealed, though, was Capcom's new IP, Kunitsugami Path of the Goddess. They did officially confirm that it's slated for a 2024 release, which is great to hear, and it actually looks rather interesting. I do like the fact that this game is different. Capcom is taking a chance here on a brand new IP, and they're lowering its risk a little bit more by releasing it into Game Pass with that guaranteed money. Not only will they get a lot of eyes on it, but they do get that guaranteed money. But if you look at the gameplay, you'll see that it's unique. There's this whole strategy layer during the daytime sequences, and then you can build these teams, and you have this action RPG type of battles, and it just looks like it could be potentially fun and different. That's one thing that I really love about Game Pass, though. It can introduce subscribers to all of these different type of experiences that might genuinely surprise you. And right now, after seeing Path of the Goddess, this could turn out to be a surprise hit when it does release into Game Pass later this year. Now, there was a couple other interesting games here that piqued my interest that's not coming over to Game Pass, and that has to start with The First Berserker. This is a new Souls-like game coming from Nexus, and it has this really attractive anime type of art style. I think the combat looks absolutely excellent. I do like the design, and pretty much everything that I'm seeing so far, except for one single thing. For whatever reason, the frame rate seems to be a little off in this trailer. I'm hoping that'll either be an error or that'll be fixed up before it officially releases. Do keep in mind that they don't have a release date just yet, so they do have some time to polish it up before release. But this game does have a ton of potential if they go about its launch the correct way. It looks very, very good. Another game that really stood out to me, though, was the Sinking City 2, which is kind of ironic since I just complained about CGI trailers a moment ago, but this is a sequel. So we can look at the previous entry to kind of gauge how its gameplay will work, and the setting for this game is just so wild. Its trailer was just going all over the place, and I know the first game was praised for its setting and atmosphere specifically, and it does sound like they're really leaning into that with more horror elements, which I think could be really interesting with this atmosphere. We will have to wait a little while to play this game, though, as it is set for 2025. The Stalker Trilogy also got confirmed today, which was a very nice surprise. There's been rumors out there, but consoles will finally get the much-beloved Stalker Trilogy today. So you can actually download this right now. I do believe it's on PlayStation as well, but this is a great way to get into the series before the eventual Stalker 2 releases later this year. For the time being, you can kind of just see why people love this game so much. Now, another game that caught my attention was Tales of Kenzera. I do like Metroidvanias, and the gameplay and art style in this game really reminds me of Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. Now, that's an amazing game. I'd probably give that a solid 9 out of 10, and, I just like what I saw in terms of gameplay for Tales of Kenzera. Even better is that we won't have to wait too long to play this game because it will be out next month on April 23rd. Bandai Namco, they're also cozying up with Xbox a little bit more as they also revealed a new IP, Unknown 9. It actually has the actress from the Witcher Netflix series as the protagonist, and it does have an interesting gameplay concept. Basically, she has a power where she can swap souls and use them in battle. I don't know. I mean, it seems like a neat gameplay idea, so we'll see how this one turns out when it releases this summer. So there you go. Those were some of the highlights at the Xbox Partner Showcase. And for me, I just thought this was a good, solid overall event. It wasn't anything too crazy, but there were some good, interesting games that might be going a little bit under the radar. And that's something that really stands out to me. I like the fact that there was some surprises here, and there were some games that I didn't really know about or just didn't have much spotlight before, and now I'm actually genuinely interested. So for that reason, I'd give this showcase a solid C. Nothing too crazy, but still fun and worth the watch, and hopefully some of these games lives up to their potential. Now, let's go talk about PlayStation, though. There was a huge story that dropped earlier today, and this just kind of took off online. It was being shared like wildfire until apparently it did end up getting amended. So there's actually a lot of misinformation floating around right now. I'm sure a lot of people probably still aren't aware of this. There's probably still a lot of confusion going on. Of course, I'm talking about the Final Fantasy VII Remake Trilogy and its unknown exclusivity deal with PlayStation. So this originally came from the Washington Post, which claimed Sony secured the entire Final Fantasy VII Remake Trilogy as PlayStation exclusives. Now, this kind of goes against some of the rumors that's been floating around for a while, which honestly, I mean, there's been rumors and speculation for this trilogy since pretty much day one. We all know that the original Final Fantasy VII Remake had a one-year timed exclusive deal with PlayStation, but even after that contract expired, Square Enix only ported it over to PC. So since then, there's been theories that PlayStation maybe just locked it out from releasing on other consoles, and that was really the belief for a long time, or at least until rumors started to emerge again last year. Square Enix does have new leadership now, which seems to believe in a more multi-platform approach, and they announced on stage last year that they will work with Xbox more going forward. So there's just a ton of speculation that surrounds these games right now and whether or not they'll head over to other platforms. And despite the initial claim today that Sony had locked all three of these games down, that now appears not to be the case after all. We can read here over on VGC. They did update the story by saying the entire Final Fantasy VII trilogy is not yet confirmed to be a Sony exclusive. The author of the Washington Post article has now said the article has been amended to only mention Remake and Rebirth. So if you did hear that story earlier today, which I'm sure a lot of you did, again, it was blowing up online, but now you can go ahead and disregard it for the time being. My take on all of this, though, is that I really wouldn't be surprised either way. I know some people crucify third-party exclusive partnerships, but I don't really see it that way. It is a business at the end of the day, and these exclusive deals are one reason why PlayStation is so successful at selling a lot of consoles. So it's great for their business. Honestly, Xbox probably do more of that themselves. Xbox talked about competing in that FTC court case, so, maybe do more of that. Be a little bit more cutthroat, and maybe you'll sell some more consoles. But at the same time, as a Final Fantasy fan, and that's where my perspective comes from, my question with this has always been, is this good for the Final Fantasy brand in the long term? Now, if you've been following the channel for a while, I said a very similar thing about Persona. And what I mean by that is that even though they're getting guaranteed money from PlayStation, probably a lot of money for that matter, but I do wonder if it maybe cuts into the long-term growth for Final Fantasy because they're not growing their fan base across all platforms. I mean, let me just go and throw this out there. Theoretically, if Final Fantasy VII Remake were to release on the Nintendo Switch successor, I imagine it would have a ton of success, especially with Nintendo being so popular over in Japan. So that's the side that I wonder about. As a fan of Final Fantasy, I just want it to be as big as it possibly can be because I love this series. I want it to have a healthy future. For the time being, though, this has been a brilliant contract for PlayStation and their business, and both Remake and Rebirth are absolutely amazing. And for me, I'm just enjoying my time. Let's just kind of hope that third game and whatever platform or platforms it releases on, let's just hope that it continues to live up to its timeless legacy because one of the best games ever is quickly turning into one of the best trilogies ever made. Now, speaking of PlayStation, though, they did also announce another PC game being Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut. Yes, the rumors were true after all, and it will release on May 16th. Now, this is a fantastic game that I think PC fans are going to love. Yes, this game did release back in 2020, but honestly, I still think this is one of the best-looking games on the market right now, and if you have a high-end PC, then really it's only going to look even better. It also, of course, comes included with things like ultra-wide support. And hey, technically, if you have a Steam Deck or a ROG Ally or another PC gaming handheld, well, there's a good chance that you'll be able to play Ghost of Tsushima on a legitimate handheld platform. My only thing about this release, though, is that it's coming in at full price. It will be a $60 game, which has been a trend with PlayStation and their staggered PC releases. I think that's one reason that, again, their staggered PC releases don't really launch with that insane amount of success. But I do imagine that they have pretty good legs in the long run. I do imagine that this business has been very profitable for them. And for you fans out there, my recommendation is that if you don't feel comfortable paying that $60 price tag, just go ahead and wait for a Steam sale. PlayStation does mark their games down quite often on PC, so just go and put it on your wish list and wait until then. Either way, PlayStation continues their big PC push. This year alone, we've already gotten Helldivers 2, and we're now getting Horizon Forbidden West and Ghost of Tsushima on top of that. And there's also a rumor going around that Gravity Rush 2 is on the way as well. Now, that is one that I really hope is true, so definitely crossing my fingers. Now, one last thing that I want to quickly talk about here, and this is very unfortunate in my opinion. We got another update on the Dragon's Dogma 2 performance situation. The rumors have just kind of been all over the place with this game and its performance, but it is now confirmed through early previews that it is an uncapped game that targets 30 FPS, not 60. Now, the good news here is that, from all indications, this is an amazing game. I've already heard various outlets claim that it might be an early Game of the Year contender because it is that good. But at the same time, I do think that 30 FPS is deflating. This is something that seems to be slowly creeping back into gaming, and especially if you have an OLED TV. 60 FPS feels amazing on OLED TVs, but because of that instant response time, 30 FPS introduces a lot of judder on OLED TVs, and it just does not feel good at all. Now, some people are okay with 30 FPS, and hey, that's perfectly fine as well. Not everybody's as prone to that situation, but going into this generation, the big thing that everybody was so happy about was faster load times and stable 60 FPS. So to see that diminish over time, it's unfortunate. But again, it does sound like Dragon's Dogma 2 is a fantastic game. So let me know what you all think about all this. Is it a big deal or is it not? Anyways, though, that's going to be it for this episode. Let me hear your letter grade for the Xbox Showcase in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. But until next time, peace out.